Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Saturday, May 4th, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. All right, here we go. Here are the games for Saturday in Major League Baseball. First up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the New York Yankees. We're going to see Clark Schmidt and Casey Mize as your starters. Two starting pitchers that have been very profitable this season. You know, Casey Mize, the Tigers have yet to lose a Casey Mize start this year. And Clark Schmidt, that was the case for him and the Yankees up until his last start against the Orioles, where he still pitched well, but it was a 2-0 Yankees loss. And, you know, it speaks to what the Yankees have been dealing with this week is inconsistent numbers, you know, offensively. They only scored 6 total runs in that 4-game series against the Orioles. And, you know, Mize has pitched well. While I do think there's some regression concerns in his game, I think he puts together a solid start. It's a decent Tigers bullpen. I think the Yankees bullpen has some regression concerns. Right now, one of the better bullpens in terms of ERA, but not in terms of expected numbers, xFIP, SIERA. So I worry about that going forward long term. You know, Schmidt's given up at least 1 home run his last 3 games. Detroit's improving offensively. I think the values with the Detroit Tigers in this game on the money line. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Minnesota Twins. No official starter for Boston. We should see Pablo Lopez going for the Twins. You know, Pablo Lopez still racking up the strikeouts this year, 37 Ks and 31 2/3, but he's given up a lot of sharp contact, a lot of home runs, and even, you know, at Target Field, an ERA at 5.59. It's tough to have a lot of faith in his game when you look at how well the Red Sox have done against right-handed pitching. They're top 5 in team OPS against righties, and their pitching staff has been really solid this year. They've had to go with a few bullpen games because of the starting pitching injuries, but they've still been able to have one of the best team ERAs in the league. I'm going to go with the Boston Red Sox in this game. I think we're going to get a great price. We'll see who the official starter is for Boston. That's going to dictate the price, but right now I'm leaning towards the Red Sox on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Eric Fedde and Lance Lynn are the projected starters. Eric Fedde's been a nice surprise for the White Sox this season in that rotation. A lot of people, after watching the first few games, expected Garrett Whitlock to be the ace by far in this rotation. But Eric Fedde now 2-0 with a 2.60 ERA. His last game, 8 1/3 innings, 2 runs, and 9 strikeouts against the Tampa Bay Rays. He's had 20 strikeouts his last 14 1/3. His control's been there. No walks his last 2 starts. I think he pitches pretty well in this game against a struggling Cardinals lineup. And, you know, Lance Lynn's been solid himself this year with a sub-3 ERA, but that ERA goes up to above 4 at home this season. And he does still give up quite a lot of sharp contact, a lot of base runners, 6 walks his last 2 starts. The strikeout number's been very inconsistent. So for me, the value lies with the White Sox in this game. I'm going to go with Chicago in the first 5 innings on the money line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Chicago Cubs. We're going to see Tobias Meyer and Jameson Taillon as your starters. Now, I do think Taillon is the better starting pitcher in this game, but I was a little bit concerned to see him only have 1 strikeout and 7 1/3 against the Mets in that last one. He gave up a home run in that game as well. And like I said, I think he's the better starting pitcher, but I think the Brewers have the much better bullpen. And, you know, I think if Myers can give the Brewers 4, maybe 5 decent innings, I think the Brewers bullpen can take over and take care of the rest. And the Brewers have been a very good road team this season, well above 500. And I think there's value with Milwaukee in a game like this. I'm going to side with the Milwaukee Brewers on the money line in this NL Central rivalry. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Austin Gomber and Jared Jones are your starters. And there's not really a lot of matchups right now where I'd want to back the Pirates, especially laying 1.5 runs. But this is an exception for me because Jared Jones has been really solid this year. You know, he's got a 3.18 ERA, even lower numbers at PNC Park, a 2.25 ERA. Great strikeout stuff, 42 Ks in 34 innings. His last game wasn't his best against the Giants, but still was 1 inning shy of a quality start. It was 5 innings, 3 runs. And I think he bounces back here, back at home, back in PNC. You know, Austin Gomber, a lefty. Pirates have been a lot better against lefties this year offensively. They've actually been with some of the worst numbers against righties. So against a lefty, I'm willing to take the Pirates offense. You know, they're top 10 right now in team OPS against lefties, top 15 in isolated power, high walk rate. Gomber, not my favorite option to back. He gave up 3 home runs in his last start. So I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Pirates and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Washington Nationals. Kevin Gausman and Jake Irvin are your starters. You know, we've done pretty well fading Kevin Gausman this season. The Blue Jays are 2-4 in his starts, but they're also, you got to remember, usually a big favorite like that game against Colorado where they were minus 250. So if you're getting a big plus money price like we see in this game, to me, I mean, the Nationals, great numbers against right-handed pitching this season offensively. Great bullpen numbers, a really improved bullpen this year. Jake Irvin's been solid, nothing crazy. He struggled a little bit more recently, but he bounced back in that last game against the Marlins. 6 innings, 2 runs, a quality start there, good enough for a Nationals victory. I think if Irvin can give the Nationals 5-6 decent innings, the bullpen can take care of the rest, and I think the Nationals can get to Kevin Gausman for a few runs early on. I think the price is right here with the home team, one of the more profitable teams in baseball right now in the Washington Nationals. So give me the Nats on the money line. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Oakland Athletics. We're going to see Trevor Rogers and Paul Blackburn as your projected starters. Now, Blackburn is struggling and not in great form going into this start. However, we got to remember the teams he faced: the Yankees at Yankee Stadium and then the Orioles at Camden Yards, two of the best teams in the American League, two of the best lineups against right-handed pitching. Now you're facing the Miami Marlins. You get back home where you've been very solid this year, 1.42 ERA. I think Blackburn bounces back, puts together a quality start, and Trevor Rogers on the other side, 0-4 with that ERA above 4, giving up at least a home run in each of his last 2 starts, facing a powerful Oakland A's lineup against left-handed pitching. This Oakland A's team is number 2 in baseball in ISO against lefties this year. I'm going to go with the Oakland Athletics on the money line in this game at home. Next up, the San Francisco Giants taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Keaton Winn and Ranger Suarez are the starters. Ranger Suarez was excellent in spring training. He's carried it over to the regular season. He's been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. 5-0 with a 1.32 ERA, 1.35 ERA at home. So that goes to show you pretty balanced stuff on the road and at Citizens Bank Park. His last game, 8 innings, 1 run. He's gone at least 7 innings his last 3 starts. That includes that 1 complete game shutout against the Rockies. He's in such good form, it's tough to go against him. But Keaton Winn on the other side has also pitched really well recently, giving up 1 run at the most in his last 3 starts. Now, it was against pretty weak lineups: the Marlins, the Phillies, and the Mets. The Marlins, the Mets, and the Pirates. But, the Philadelphia Phillies, we saw him strike out 18 times the other night. This offense has been very inconsistent. I think Winn puts together a good outing. I'm going to go with the under here in San Francisco, Philadelphia. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Reed Detmers and Ben Lively are your starters. Ben Lively's pitched well so far this year, but I'm still not a huge believer in his game. So far the strikeout numbers have been really solid, but when you look at the whiff and chase rate, they're actually not that great. So I just don't know where the strikeouts are going to come from, as the season continues. And the Angels, they're an offense that's been up and down this year. Mike Trout being out of the lineup certainly hurts them, but I think if there was a matchup this series where they could really get to the opposing starter, this would be the one. And Reed Detmers gives the Angels their best chance to win in most series, each game. Now, he is struggling a bit. His last 2 games against the Twins and the Orioles, 9 earned runs given up combined. But those are 2 very good lineups against lefties. To me, when we saw Chris Sale dominate the Guardians not too long ago, they had a great start to the season against lefties. They're starting to fall off a bit, and I think Reed Detmers can put together a bounce-back start here. I don't love this Angels bullpen. I think the Guardians have one of the best bullpens in baseball. The Angels one of the worst. So that's why if this is a close game late, I'd be very worried about the Angels. But at least in the first 5 innings, I think they have a good chance to take the lead. And I do expect major regression for Ben Lively going forward. So I'm going to take the Angels in the first 5 innings on the money line. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Cincinnati Reds. We mentioned John Means probably going to get a start this weekend, and here he is pitching on Saturday, making his season debut, a very anticipated season debut for Orioles fans, and Andrew Abbott, another lefty on the other side for the home team. Now, Abbott, I mentioned the regression concerns in his game. We're starting to see that now. That last game against the Rangers, even Rangers lineup that wasn't really hitting lefties too well, still got to him for 4 earned runs and 2 home runs. Now you're facing an Orioles lineup that's amazing against lefties. They are right now number 1 in baseball in ISO, number 2 in team OPS. I think that they get to Andrew Abbott early and often, but I mentioned the big issues for John Means in spring training this year. A lot of sharp contact, 18 earned runs in about 18 innings. So it was a little bit less than a 9 ERA, but not what you want to see. Now going into Great American Ballpark, facing a very powerful lineup in the Cincinnati Reds, a patient lineup that's got one of the highest walk rates against lefties in baseball. I think Means struggles. I think Abbott struggles. I like both these offenses. Give me the over here at Great American Ballpark. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Kansas City Royals. Dane Dunning and Michael Wacha are your starters. Give me another over in this game. I like both of these offenses against right-handed pitching. Michael Wacha, a lot of base hits. He's given up at least 8 in 3 of his last 4 starts. Sharp contact, not really missing a lot of bats. He's just not in great form right now, even though he still has, a 4.24 ERA, which is decent. He's been a lot better at Kauffman Stadium, so maybe this is a bounce back start for him, but still, I mean, he's struggling despite facing the White Sox twice, the Tigers, the Blue Jays, and the Mets. I mean, all those teams, except the Mets, I believe, are below league average in team OPS against right-handed pitching. So not what you want to see now going up against the Rangers. And then Dane Dunning on the other side, while he's been, inconsistent. This last game was excellent against the Reds, but before that, 4 earned against the Mariners, 2 bombs. He's given up a lot of sharp contact. The Royals' offense at Kauffman's been really solid. I think they get to him as well, and I don't love either of these bullpens, so I'm going to go with the over here in Rangers-Royals. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to see Luis Severino and Zach Littell as your starters. I mentioned, Michael Wacha struggling a bit with the base runners, even against weak lineups, and the same thing goes for Zach Littell. He hasn't been the sharpest, despite facing a really weak strength of schedule. The Rockies, the Angels again, Tigers, and White Sox in his last 5 starts, but in each of his last 3 games, giving up 8 or more base hits in those ball games. Yeah, he's been able to mix in some strikeouts and miss bats, but still, I worry about that going up against a pretty patient lineup in the New York Mets, an improving lineup. And Luis Severino on the other side, who's in great form right now. His last game, 8 innings, 1 run against the Chicago Cubs. He flirted a bit with a no-hitter in that one. So I got to go with the New York Mets. They have the better lineup right now by far, the better bullpen by far, and honestly, I think the better starting pitcher. So give me the Mets in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Houston Astros. Logan Gilbert and Framber Valdez are your starters. Now, Framber pitched well in that last game, his first game back from the IL, and overall, he's got pretty good numbers against the Mariners hitters historically, but I would say that they're trending, the Mariners, at least last year, were trending in the right direction offensively against Framber after, a game back on early in the season. It was July 8th, 6 innings, 2 runs for Framber, great quality start there and an Astros win. He followed it up by giving up 6 runs on August 19th against the Mariners, 10 base hits to go with it in a blowout loss, and then in only 4 innings, 3 more runs and a home run with 5 walks to go with it. So the last 2 outings to end the 2023 season against Seattle were not great for Framber. I worry about him in this game because there's not really a lot of margin of error because Logan Gilbert's so strong on the other side in such great form. He's gone at least 6 innings in each of his last 4 games, giving up 2 earned runs or fewer in all those games. And he's faced some tough lineups, the Rangers, the Reds. So I like the fact he's missing bats. He's doing a good job at limiting the walks. I got to go with the Seattle Mariners in this game because if this is a close game late, I trust their bullpen a lot more. So give me the Mariners on the money line. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Michael King and Brandon Pfaadt are your starters. It's funny, a couple weeks ago, somebody said on the live show in the comments, Ron, stop backing Brandon Pfaadt. Stop making us take Brandon Pfaadt. I said, I'm never giving up on Brandon Pfaadt because I know the talent that he has, and we're starting to see it now. Last 3 games, 2 earned runs or fewer in all those games, including the last start, his best of the season, one of his best of his career. 6 innings, 2 runs, no walks, 11 strikeouts. A quality start against a very, surging Mariners lineup in a 3-2 Diamondbacks victory. I think he's a much better option in this game. Michael King, he has been all over the place. We've talked about how inconsistent he's been. The walks, the home runs, the base hits. He's had some really, really strong outings like the game on April 17th. And then he's had some really rough ones like the game last time out against the Phillies. 6 earned runs and 3 home runs with 3 walks to go with it. I can't trust him in this game, even though he could, all of a sudden put together a strong outing. I can't bank on it. I don't love this Diamondbacks bullpen, but I don't think the Padres bullpen's much better. So I'm going to go with the home team in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Bryce Elder and Tyler Glasnow are your starters. To me, this is as lopsided a pitching matchup as you can get. I really worry about Bryce Elder in this game. I think he has major regression concerns. Look at the numbers. His 1.5 ERA looks solid on paper, but that last game against Cleveland, he had 4 walks and only 2 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings. This is a very, very good Dodgers lineup, obviously, against right-handed pitching. But the big problem in Elder's game that I've seen, not just this year and previous years, he gets behind the count very, very often. You see a lot of 3-0, 3-1, 3-2 counts, 2-0 counts. And it's really tough for a starting pitcher in this game, especially against a lineup like Los Angeles, to be behind the count consistently. I think the Dodgers can take advantage of that all game long, and I think it's going to be a short start for Bryce Elder. I'm going to go with the first five team total over for the Los Angeles Dodgers, among some other things as well in this game. But I like the team total over for Los Angeles for sure. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and put those baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.